Every home keeps its secrets. A shoebox in the attic, a letter in a drawer, a trunk in the basement. But Graceland? Graceland was no ordinary home. It was the fortress where Elvis Presley lived, dreamed, and left behind a legacy that changed the world. Fans believed every inch had been searched, every artifact cataloged, but they were wrong. During a quiet restoration of Elvis's private upstairs bedroom, a worker tapped against the wall. Instead of a solid thud, the sound that came back was hollow, a whisper behind plaster. What they uncovered wasn't another gold record. It wasn't a rhinestone jumpsuit. It was a secret compartment, deliberately built, sealed away by Elvis himself. Inside lay a hidden time capsule. Not trophies, not headlines, but treasures so personal, so raw, they would shatter the image of the king the world thought they knew. And at the heart of it, a single message, handwritten, intimate, a message so powerful that when Priscilla Presley read it for the first time, she broke down in tears. This discovery doesn't just rewrite Elvis's history. It reveals Elvis the man, not the icon, not the legend, in a way the world has never seen before. Because some walls don't just hold secrets, some walls hold hearts. Graceland sparkled for the world. Tourists flooded the music room, the dining room, the famous jungle room. They saw the trophies, the glitter, the legend. But upstairs was something different. No cameras, no tour guides, no velvet ropes. Only family, closest friends, and Elvis himself ever stepped inside. The very heart of this hidden floor was his bedroom. Not a stage, not a set, but his true fortress. Curtains drawn tight against daylight, books piled on nightstands, small belongings scattered in the silence. This wasn't Elvis the king. This was Elvis the man, restless, searching, guarding the only space where he could finally be himself. For decades, that upstairs sanctuary was sealed shut, preserved exactly as he left it, his bed neatly arranged, his things untouched, a shrine frozen in time. But within those walls, silence wasn't the only thing being preserved. Hidden behind plaster and paint, Elvis had left something else, something he never intended for the crowds to see. Because Graceland's upstairs wasn't just a sanctuary of rest, it was a vault of secrets. And soon, one of those secrets would speak. The restoration began quietly, careful hands dusting, preserving, protecting Elvis's private space from time itself. Every touch felt sacred. This wasn't just any room, this was the king's fortress. And then it happened. A worker tapped the wall, not the firm thud of wood and plaster, but something else. Hollow, empty, as if the wall was whispering back. The crew froze. A second tap, the same strange echo. This wasn't a mistake. Something was there. Slowly, with tools scraping and dust filling the air like fragments of memory, the wall began to give way. Piece by piece, it revealed what no fan, no biographer, no camera had ever seen. The hidden compartment, deliberately built, sealed tight, waiting in silence for decades. It wasn't labeled, it wasn't decorated, its only purpose was to conceal. And inside, not glitter, not gold, but something far more powerful. A time capsule of Elvis Presley's truest self. The news reached his family within hours. Lisa Marie, trembling, stood over the opening, Priscilla close by, their eyes fixed on the dark void inside the wall, breath held, hearts racing. They all knew whatever rested in that secret space had the power to change everything they thought they knew about the man they loved. The compartment yawned open, its darkness stretching out like a vault untouched for decades. Dust floated in the air, shimmering in the light as the Presley family leaned closer. And then treasures began to emerge. Not jewels, not gold records, not rhinestone jumpsuits, but something far more intimate. First came the little things, a toy car, its paint chipped and worn, a coin from a county fair, scraps of paper covered in doodles from a boy named Elvis who once dreamed of music before the world knew his name. Lisa Marie's hands trembled as she lifted each object. These weren't museum pieces. They were whispers of innocence preserved by a man who never wanted to forget where he came from. Beneath them lay notes, folded tight, written in Elvis's hurried scrawl. Some were fragments of unfinished lyrics, words scribbled in midnight bursts of inspiration. Others were raw reflections, private thoughts never meant for the crowd, only for himself. And then came the centerpiece. A single Polaroid, colors faded, edges curled, Lisa Marie as a toddler, smiling at the camera, reaching forward with tiny hands. Lisa gasped, her tears falling before she could stop them. This wasn't just a photograph. It was a father's secret altar, hidden in the one place he knew the world would never look. At the very heart of his hidden vault, Elvis Presley had preserved not his fame, but his daughter. Lisa's hand brushed against something at the very bottom of the compartment, a folded sheet of paper, yellowed with age, its edges soft from decades in hiding. She froze. Everyone in the room did. This wasn't just another trinket, this was deliberate. With trembling fingers, Lisa unfolded it. Across the top, in bold but shaky handwriting, were 4 words that stopped the room cold. To those I love. Silence. No one moved. No one breathed. Lisa began to read. Elvis wrote of why he built the compartment. Not for fame, not for history, but because he needed a place where the truest parts of himself could stay safe. Away from the cameras, away from the pressure, away from the crushing weight of being the king. I wanted somewhere quiet, he confessed, a place to keep what was too sacred to be shown, too precious to be lost. The world saw me smile, but many nights I felt more alone than I could ever say. The cheers were loud, but when they stopped, the silence pressed harder than anything I'd ever known. Lisa's voice cracked as she read his words. Elvis spoke of longing for simple things, the innocence of Tupelo, family dinners filled with laughter, the echo of his daughter's giggles through the halls. And then the line that shattered them all. What mattered most was never the stage lights, it was the faces of those I cherished when the lights went out. Tears blurred Lisa's eyes as she clutched the page. This wasn't Elvis Presley, the legend. This was Elvis Presley, the man. Lonely, searching, confessing the truth he had hidden inside his own walls. A secret not meant for tabloids. A message meant only for the ones he loved most. Just when the family thought the letter was the final treasure, Lisa noticed more pages pressed flat against the wood. A small stack, edges curled with age. Waiting. She lifted them carefully. Her breath caught. Music notes, lyrics, written in her father's unmistakable hand. It was an unfinished song. The words weren't polished, the melody incomplete, but the emotion, raw, aching, undeniable. Elvis wrote of nights when the applause faded, when the silence grew too heavy. He wrote of not wanting to be remembered as a statue or a shadow. I want to be remembered, one line read, as flesh and blood, as a man who loved and was loved. The room froze. Lisa's voice trembled as she whispered the lyrics aloud, each line heavier than the last. This wasn't meant for the charts, the stage, or the screaming crowds. This was Elvis singing to himself, to his family, to the people who would one day find these words. Lisa pressed the pages to her chest, tears streaming. This was more than music. This was his soul unfinished. A voice still singing across time. The room was silent except for Lisa's trembling breath. She held the unfinished song against her chest as though it were her father himself. Her tears stained the paper, each drop blurring the ink like time refusing to let go. Around her, the family stood frozen, hands clasped, eyes brimming, hearts heavy. No one dared speak. They didn't need to. Every face carried the same truth. They weren't holding just objects. They were holding Elvis. Lisa whispered through her sobs. He was speaking to us. To me. Grief folded time. For a moment it felt as if Elvis were still in the room. His laughter echoing faintly, his voice humming through the walls. That was the power of what he left behind. Not fame, not legend, love. Every family knows this feeling. The sound of a loved one's handwriting discovered in a drawer. A faded photograph tucked between pages. A song that suddenly plays and collapses years into seconds. That day, in the upstairs of Graceland, the Presley family realized the king's greatest performance was not on stage. It was the love he carried in silence, hidden away, waiting for them to find. Lisa pressed her hand against the wall as if sealing it again. Not with secrecy this time, but with gratitude. Her voice steadied. "Thank you, Daddy." The room dimmed, but the silence was no longer heavy with mystery. It was filled with reverence. The toy car, the notes, the Polaroid, the letter, the unfinished song. Together, they painted the truest portrait of Elvis Presley the world had never seen. Not the glittering icon, not the untouchable legend, but a man, a father, a son. Someone who hid his deepest truths not in a museum, but in the walls of his own bedroom, trusting that love would one day uncover them. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't found under stage lights. They're hidden in silence, waiting for the right hands to discover them. Elvis Presley may have left the stage, but his voice, his real voice, never faded. It lived in these hidden corners, in the love he preserved, in the unfinished melody of a heart still singing across generations. Some walls hold secrets. Some secrets hold love. And Elvis Presley's greatest legacy was not only in the music he gave the world, but in the message he left behind for those he loved most. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit like and subscribe for more untold stories of icons whose voices still echo today. The king's music may have ended, but his love never will.